I was going to give you some shit, Rob. I was going to give you a hard time, but you just explained your situation. You were not feeling well, and you had some things going on, and you forgot about our recording session today, in which we are discussing a spooky and unique topic, a topic that has been studied at the academic level. Let's dive into it. It's Stews with Brews on a Porch. Strange Brew.
Cue it.
Dudes with Brews on a Porch presents to you another edition of Strange Brews. Conspiracies, murder, ghost stories, aliens. They're all coming to get you, my dears.
Coughs are real. Rob is huffing Vicks Vapor Rub on his face to hopefully make himself feel a little better.
Yep.
You might get the occasional feedback from me. You might get the a little repeat on me, but it is what it is. That's just
Yeah, this one's kind of by the seat of our pants. I don't have my microphone in my headset, so
it's got nothing that he
those of
needs.
you listening.
So he's drinking, or he's not drinking, but he's sniffing the Vapor Rub. I am going the route of the bourbon again tonight. But it's a different bourbon than what I had last time. My wife went on a weekend getaway with her friends in Door County. She brought me home some Hatch Distilling Company's 1916 Bourbon Whiskey, 90 proof or 45% alcohol by volume. And this is where the American tradition meets old world techniques. This is going to have bourbon notes, your typical sweet bourbon notes, but also it's balanced with some Irish whiskey flavors. You're going to get some green apple, some pear, some light fruit, barn straw, and light oak, believe it or not. It is a golden color. Revolution, rebellion, redefinition. American tradition meets old world technique. This American bourbon mash bill also includes a sizable portion of both malted and unmalted barley, a method favored by our friends over on the Emerald Isle. A bourbon made in the rebellious spirits of the 1916 Easter Rising, which would lead to the Irish Revolution. This is batch number 7 from Hatch Distilling, in Egg Harbor, Wisconsin. It has got a beautiful light golden hue to it. It smells sweet. Like, it's got a good sweet smell. I put a cube in it. Let's take a sip of it, shall we? Delicious.
So is this the first sip you've had of this specific? Did you open the bottle for this episode?
Yep.
Okay, good. I don't think of sweet when I think of bourbon.
Yeah, well, this has the traditional, some bourbons are sweet. But this has that traditional or old school way of making Irish whiskey, but it's got sweetness to it. I get a little bit of the green apple, I would say. It's got almost maybe a caramel maybe kick to it, but it's pretty tasty actually. It's sweet, it goes down smooth, nice and cold with that cube. I like to drink bourbon with the cube. That's how I do it. One single ice cube. It's sizable, but I like it.
Hey, we all find our ways to drink the things we drink.
Burn so good. Delicious. We are getting into the strange brew aspect of things today. A topic that's actually pretty cool, I think. This might be a shorter episode based on time that we have available to us. But
I'm glad that you did the research because I really did want to actually look into this. And I did find myself going down some stupid, just like Google or whatever wormholes. I sent you that AI thing. I don't know if you watched that, but
yeah, I did. It's funny.
I thought that was creepy, but also it makes sense because AI. But anyway, I didn't get a chance to look into this. This week was weird for me. So
it's all right. We're going to talk about birthmarks. Now, people would say there's nothing paranormal about birthmarks. There's scientific evidence of this and that and this. But there are some things that people say myths. So right away, people are doubting the validity of this. But here are some things regarding birthmarks, okay? Some things that people have said about it. Some of them being myths, and one of them maybe having a kernel of truth into it. Initially, food and birthmarks. There's been stated that there's a correlation between that, okay? Birthmarks on babies are a reflection about what the mom ate while pregnant or the food cravings that they had. The biggest example is like having what's called a strawberry. So a strawberry mark. Do you know what that is?
No.
So it's just like over pigmentation. It's like a really red mark, sometimes a red lumpy mark. It's called strawberry. And as you can probably assume, they say if the mother ate too many strawberries during pregnancy, they have a strawberry mark on them.
That sounds like the biggest quack in the history of looks like a strawberry. Your mom must have ate a lot. Like that's before you said that, I was gonna say like this theory about what the parents ate. That sounds like Gen Zers wanting to be mad at their parents for things that they can't even fathom. So they're like, "Oh, I have a birthmark here. You ate red meat, you piece of shit parent." That's what that sounds like to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't believe in that one damn bit. Strawberry, it's a red mark. That's not how things work.
Okay, this is just a theory, Rob. You don't need
I know, but let me get upset about it. Let me shake my proverbial cane.
Likewise, the port wine stain birthmark said to be a reflection of wine and grape consumption, and there's something called cafe au lait birthmarks reflect consumption of coffee or chocolate. So that's one theory, right?
What does that one look like?
A poop mark, perhaps? A poop?
That's what I have. I'm pretty sure. Let me take a look.
Yeah. You have a poop stain?
I got a little dark spot, little coffee run dribble.
Yeah, it could just be a mole as well.
Come on.
Another theory, animals relating to birthmarks. If a pregnant woman meets a hare, her baby may be born with a hare lip or a cleft lip because the hare is a witch in animal form. All right. If the birthmark has a shape-like kind of appearance, the baby's spirit animal is a bird. If it looks like a paw, it goes on to be a cat. Things like that.
Wait, I didn't understand. What was the bird mark?
So if you have a birthmark that looks like a feather or is like the shape of a feather.
Okay, I didn't hear you say feather. Okay.
Other things like personal experiences of the mother. This is more specific in kind of Japan, that pregnant women are forbidden to look at fire or into flames because they will cause a burn mark on the baby's skin, or like just like a mole, a big ass mole, more or less, is what they're saying. So watch out for that.
Is this modern day or is this like old world?
This could be old world. I don't know if it's current time. But this one is the one that is going to be our main focus of the episode, Rob. Past lives in birthmarks. A very popular belief worldwide that birthmarks are a sign of how somebody died in his or her or theirs past life before being reincarnated. So it depends. The position, the shape, the color are often the connection of the fatal wounds, something like a stab wound, bullet shots, flame or burn-like marks indicating a fire or a death by fire. There's been a study on this, okay? An actual study that has an abstract and everything, a method, conclusions. This is from 1993, published in the Journal of Scientific Exploration, Volume 7, Number 4, pages 403 to 410 in the Medical Virginia University of some shit. I don't know. Talking about this. they actually did a study at the University of Virginia, the School of Medicine, okay, in which they're like, these kids have these birthmarks, or what most medical professionals would describe as some sort of mole, some sort of mark, or nevi. I guess that's a word for fucked up markings on your arms or skin. They're not, I shouldn't say fucked up, but unique markings on your things. So 35% of children who claim to remember previous lives have birthmarks and or birth defects, okay? And it's interesting because there's cases that they investigated where the child remembers something that happened, and the relation of how that person passed away or how that person was injured is very close to their birthmark location, and the way or the defect is in a way that would probably match the aftermath of said circumstances. It was pretty interesting. So in these birth defects were always some sort of rare type. And then in cases in which a deceased person was identified, the details of whose life unmistakably matched the child's statements. Okay. And there was a close correspondence with between those, like I said before, between the wound of the deceased person and the birth defect or the birthmark. And let's see, it's pretty freaking interesting. 895 cases of children who claim to remember a previous life. They started talking about these kids started talking about these previous lives when they were 2 or 3 years old. They're learning to talk, they're learning how to express themselves, and they're talking about this unprompted. There's an unlikely chance that they watch some documentary, some true crime show, or listen to a true crime podcast. This is 1993.
This is in 1993, though. Remember,
right? But exactly. So that stuff isn't.
X-Files hadn't even aired yet at this point. I mean, it's just coming to light. I think X-Files missed the boat. They could have used this study to their advantage, but let's not go into that.
Right. So it's pretty crazy. So
this is 93 that we're still talking about, yeah?
Right, 1993. This is the 1993 study.
Documentaries you have to go to a video store to find. I mean, the History Channel had real stuff on there still, but
yeah,
I don't think there's a lot of stuff doing
right,
documentaries back then, not like that.
There were sometimes the language wouldn't be, or the stories wouldn't be like in depth. It would be a little vague. Like they would talk about it. Like they were able to elaborate when asked about it. This usually stops, like the talking about this usually stops between ages of 5 and 7, probably because they gain a little bit more of an awareness of like, I'm creeping people out and I'm saying weird things, kind of like the imaginary friend type of situation where a kid has an imaginary friend, they say no, that's not real, and eventually, like at the age of 5 or 7, they kind of comprehend, okay, this probably isn't real, because they say it's not.
I don't think that it comes down to creeping other people out. I think from 5 to 7, you start integrating into society through kindergarten and school, and going outdoors, and you're not stuck in your house with your parents all the time or wherever you are. Like, so your mind shifts from internal to external, where it's like now you're dealing with other children, and you kind of create your own identity. You're not falling back on either A, your creativity, which creates the story that we're talking about, if you don't believe in the past life scenario, or B, you're not internally like falling back on an old personality or an old life that you used to have. You shift into making a new personality, because that's what birth and regrowth is.
Right.
That would be my guess. More so than any kid like going, nobody wants to hear about how I used to be John and I got shot in the head or whatever.
Right. Some of these situations, they were, the person identified, the deceased person was somebody in the child's family, but in majority of the cases that was not the case. So like finding the person to line up with it would probably be a little bit difficult, but in a lot of cases, these ordinary birthmarks or hyperpigmentation or underpigmentation lined up with what they were saying, which is kind of crazy. There's an example of a child, and I don't know that this really matters, but they specify that this is of Indian descent, and he had hyperpigment.
Okay, wait a minute. This is 1993. Does that mean Native American descent?
I don't know. It could.
I'm not legitimately asking the question because we're going back 30,
right.
30 years now.
No, I understand.
That could, yeah. My guess is that it's Native American descent is what they're talking about.
I actually think it might be Indian from India. Possibly.
All right. Well, you've read the more ahead, so let's continue on. I was just wondering. That's not a joke question. That was a legitimate question.
So he had hyperpigmentation on his chest, okay, in only certain areas, in which the skin is actually lighter. So hyperpigmentation. He said he remembered the life of a man, Maharam, who was killed with a shotgun at close range. So they have the picture of it. They have the picture of the birthmark, and yeah, he was able to do this, and they found this in a lot of other people. And the crazy part is like it was like 88% of the time the correspondence between the wounds of the person and where the birthmarks are of who they found, of the person who has the birthmarks are pretty accurate, pretty like same place. Sometimes
my question,
go ahead.
Sorry, my question is, do they have to be pretty accurate, or if this is a scientific, if you're trying to prove this, do they have to be exact in your mind?
I don't know, because I would think if you're talking about like reincarnation and everything, there's gonna be aspects that are never dead on or perfect. You're a part of somebody else is going into you, like you said. At a certain point, they shed that previous life and they make a new, right? So I am more, if I had a birthmark and I got it on my face from somebody or whatever, I have qualities and I have memories and I have maybe some similarities between the individual, but I am not that individual. So I think there's going to be a little bit of differences, but I think, yes, skeptics will probably say, well, it's not 100% accurate. But you're not 100% of that person, You're a different shit.
No, yeah, I get that, and that's why I'm just asking, like if the wound line should match 100%. It's like, I guess probably not if they're birthmarks, and then you grow. What if it was like a big fat guy, and now you're a skinny guy? Those the birthmarks aren't going to match up probably the same way. But also, my question is, when you're saying that they say these things unprompted, like in this study, they're not leading or anything. Like, these kids are giving them names and details about dying, and then they go off and find evidence that these people existed. Is that what I'm understanding?
From my understanding, yes, that's what's going on. And like this other example, there was a congenial malformation of a nail on the right of the big toe, on the right side of the big toe of a Thai person, a person who was of Thai descent. And they do note that a lot of these individuals have some sort of like either Southeast Asian or Asian beliefs, and they do believe in reincarnation. So that could be, I don't know, maybe they're just more open about it. Maybe they're just more understanding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't like to use that as a point of dismissal, because it's like, well, they're just aware of it. Like they're just, so it's, I don't know. I don't use that as a point to dismiss it.
That's a cultural impact that actually does play a part in everything that we do, whether we realize it or not.
Right.
So it's like, if you're in a culture that believes in reincarnation, then you're more likely to get more people at least being open about it. Like here, there was a time when if you were a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old that was going, I used to be Dennis whatever, and I ran, I ran drugs for this and this happened and that happened and you feel like you're drowning in your sleep because that's how whatever.
Right.
They'd just put you, they'd send you to an insane asylum, which was not a fun place to be.
Exactly.
So it's like that stops people from talking about anything. The way we used to treat people like that had anything that was considered an abnormality. So it's like it's understandable to me that it would take longer for us to do but even us, it's like instead of believing in a reincarnation or that theory, it's like we try and analytically study past lives, which to me seems like it's an impossibility to try and break down whether or not a birthmark is evidence of a past life or not. But
right. So this person with the messed up toe, his uncle had a chronic ulcer on the same toe, which, I mean, that one's not really that impressive. Yeah, you got ulcers in your family, or you got like messed up feet, genetics. We could chalk that one up. We'll throw that one out to the side. Forget that guy's big toe. There was a round puckered birthmark on another boy that they were able to line up, and it corresponded with a bullet wound of entry in a man whose life he said he remembered and who had been shot with a rifle from behind. So that he had hit it on the frontal head, and it matched like where the bullet wound exited, and he remembered it. This is not a relative. This is just a story and a situation that he recalled, that he remembered and had a memory of. So that's really what this found. It didn't find it with every person in the study. You're never going to have that. But it's just, and they're all like just different situations. 2 round puckered scar-like birthmarks, different sizes on the left breast of a Burmese woman, who as a child said she remembered the life of a woman who was fatally wounded by a gunshot wound that used a cartridge containing, a shot of different sizes.
Yeah.
So it has, and it's just, I don't know. Maybe if you dig enough, like if you say you have a birthmark on your, like you said, on your hip or whatever, and if we do enough searching, and you say I have this memory of this, maybe we can find it. Maybe we can line it up.
I can tell you right now, my birthmark is about the size of a musket ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's circular, and it's on my hip. You want to go? It wouldn't take too long probably to find somebody who got shot in the Civil War in the hip with a musket ball that shattered their hip, and they got infected. And
aren't muskets pretty big though? I don't know, like big?
No, they're only like that.
Like a jawbreaker?
Not even, man.
Like a everlasting gobstopper?
That's a little big, I think.
No, all right.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I feel like I've seen a musket ball. I mean, some of them are big. I guess it depends on the era. I mean, Revolutionary War ones were probably bigger.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's before they realized what drag was and like the fact that maybe a smaller projectile moves easily through the air or something. I don't know. I'm talking right out of my ass right now.
You're talking right out of your birthmark.
Yep.
And this one I thought was like the most interesting was a severely malformed ear on a Turkish boy. He remembered the life of a man who was fatally wounded on the right side of the head by another shotgun at close range. So, but like the way it would have exited, and the way it just corresponded with like the exit wound and how like the post-mortem photos looked, if you will. You know what I mean? Like the part that would have like blown out on the side, taking out parts of the ear, it like lines up pretty accurately, which is just wild. And there's a bunch of
50 years from now there'll be a kid born with missing part of his ear, and he'll remember being the president.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's circle of
life. So it's just yeah. So that's what it was. It's crazy to me, and there's like a million references on here. But
I mean, this is something that I feel like, yeah, if we want to go down and just read studies, no one, maybe that's something people can. I'm going to look into this more because it does interest me. To be honest, sorry.
You're dying. Oh my God.
Sorry.
We're getting to the truth, and they're poisoning you.
Right. Let me get some of this Vicks Vapor Rub.
Yeah, take a sniff.
Oh, good. But even the other things that we started the episode with, I never really thought about looking into. I would like to know what the scientific explanation of a birthmark is. I have no idea. Why do people have birthmarks? Why are they in different spots? Why are they different colors? Why are they this? Why are they that? I don't think I've ever looked into I think it'd be interesting just to find out what modern science would say is a birthmark is from, and then to go into the mythology of different cultures of what. I mean, come on. One of them was like, if the mother sees a hair and a hair is a witch, and that means that it's an X mark. And I mean, people come up like, it's like the things that we used to decide on and as to why things were is so interesting.
And it could be as simple as a mole, like a sizable mole, hopefully non-cancerous, that is located somewhere. So like, if you have like a bigger mole on your head somewhere, people call it a bullet mark. That's where you were shot in the head in a past life. It's just yeah. Or if you have like this website says this, and I probably wouldn't take it as a good medical advice, but it says, don't freak out to know that you have this birthmark that's uneven and raised. It was just, you were just stabbed in your previous life, or you have melanoma. So you shouldn't dismiss your moles. If you see a weird mole,
no, I would say if you definitely you were just stabbed in a previous life.
Right.
Oof, dodged a bullet on that one.
There's even a popular belief, if you have a reddish brown spot on your forehead, you were shot, but you weren't shot by a gun. You were shot by a poisoned arrow. That's very specific.
Well, if you think about things in terms of all spanning the history of humanity, guns are relatively new.
Right.
Blow darts, they've been around for a while. Poison tip darts, they go back. Yeah.
You got a little dot.
Yeah, I had a raised mole on my neck. I don't know if it was I never thought of moles as birthmarks, but I would like to go back and look at baby pictures and see if I had that bad boy when I started life.
Yeah.
But I just kept pulling the thing off, and now it doesn't grow back anymore. So.
What if you have like a mole like on your scrot? What do you think about that? Is that from a vasectomy gone wrong?
Born to a woman and
you were neutered?
I don't know. Something
in a previous life, perhaps.
Maybe you were like the test patient for the vasectomy.
I was the original one.
You were patient number one.
Even your birthmarks can indicate if you were a criminal in your past life. So if you have because it's like it looks like a branding mark almost.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So there you go. You can really learn about yourself by your birthmarks.
There's so many, like, you can get your palm read and all these things read, and it's like you think there'd be someone out there reading birthmarks.
How come dermatologists aren't like diving into this a little bit more? They're the ones that are really like investigating your body, doing the checks, especially if you've had skin cancer scares before. Like they really should be like looking at you and be like, oh, this is where you were. You got shot in the caboose.
There's no ointment for that they can charge you for. Like if they're like, oh, this was a past life stab mark, there's nothing I can do about it. Well, their business dries up.
Yeah, you look at your bill and you see like this reincarnation evaluation fee of $600. You're like, what's this? Oh, didn't they tell you? Yeah, you were previously branded because you stole a slab of meat from the meat market in 1932, and you stole it from Henry's beef or whatever.
That's why your birthmark looks like an H and a B.
Yeah,
kind of hugging each other.
Right. So I don't know. What do you?
Kind of insight is cheap? No.
What do you think about this? Do you think there's some validity in it? Do you think this is mere coincidence? I mean, the study from 1993, it didn't necessarily confirm, but it definitely didn't deny. It just stated its findings.
I mean, I'd say it's an interesting study to delve deeper into. I find it hard to look at a study and go like, how do you have a control there? How do you have, it's. I mean, this had to have been something done, like they didn't have it in mind to actually crack this riddle, because there's no way to prove. If you prove that birthmarks are remnants of past life deaths, then all of a sudden you've proven past lives, and it opens up a whole can of worms. But it sounds like a very interesting study to scroll through and read to come up with like an idea of like, oh yeah, you know what, I'm going to take these people at their word, and there's stranger things out there, you know.
How do you think? So do you think everybody is reincarnated, or only certain people get that gift of being reincarnated somehow, or parts of them are reincarnated into somebody else? And how is it determined who gets what? Is it the moment? Is it like, I guess I didn't look too deep into it. I looked at the study, but I didn't read it word for word. I'd be interested to see like, when was this person born and when did this person die? Like, if it's the same day, this kid was born here, and
like is it passed off like second of death and second of birth matchup, and their like vicinity. I mean that makes sense that maybe it would need to be that way. But honestly, when you're getting into the realm of these things, there are no rules that we know of. I don't know if I believe in the reincarnation as much as I kind of believe. There's some things I've looked into. Actually, this week I finally found the name of that book that the guy, like I think it was Poe, actually wrote it, and it's either Shakespeare or Poe wrote a play or a book based on some cannibals and the guy that got eaten. And 50 years later, like the exact story happened in real life, down to the name of the guy that got eaten. So like I look at that and I look at these things and I go, somebody's just writing the story of humanity somewhere, and they just keep rehashing.
You think Shakespeare wrote that?
It might have been Shakespeare that wrote that. Yeah, it was one of the big, probably not Poe.
Didn't Shakespeare write a lot of like weird love shit and like stuff like that? I don't know. I don't understand Shakespeare. It's hard to. I've read Romeo and Juliet, and it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what they're saying.
Well, that's because it was written in a different time.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's a stupid story. It really is.
I mean, I don't want to get into arguing that with you, but because to be honest, you know what? I don't go back and read a lot of the shit. We need to have Ryan on for that.
Ryan reads a lot of Shakespeare. He's sophisticated and bougie.
He went to school for it.
He went to school for reading? I mean, I read in school as well, but I've recently read Shakespeare, and it's still a dumb story. Got two of these teenage kids just throwing fits because their parents don't want them to date. Rob walked away. I'm just talking into the void. I think somebody is walking in the door. Probably just end this episode. To be honest, we've covered what we needed to cover. I'm still talking, and people in the background. I drank this 1916 bourbon whiskey from Hatch Distilling Company. Absolutely delicious. You can drink it in a cube. Their website gives you recipes and ways to mix it. It's always good stuff. I like it straight out the bottle over some ice, chilled, delicious stuff. And I think I'll have me some more one day, because I have the bottle, so I might as well continue to drink it. Not all today, but over time, because moderation is key. And here at the Porcupine Society, we just like to unite everybody who's 21 or older with a tasty beverage. And if you're under the age of 21, well, grab some gourmet soda. We don't discriminate. Check your body out. If you have unusual moles, please contact a dermatologist and professional. just to make sure, just to make sure. It's serious stuff. Melanoma, no joke. It's summertime. You're spending time outside. You should wear SPF 50, but let's be honest, nobody's doing that. I do that because I care about my skin, and I've had more than enough scares in the world of sketchy moles. So I've learned my lesson. But don't like wait to learn the lesson to apply the knowledge that you have now, which is if you were killed in the past life and you have a fucked up mole, get it examined and then put sunscreen on it. God bless.
I didn't follow a lot of that, but Vicks is good.